Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be stepping back in time a little bit to the 1980s,
Ooh, the 80s.
to Hollywood and
Wig
big
hair,
hair, shoulder pads,
shoulder pads.
all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
And, some seriously dark secrets.
Yeah, we're really diving into a case today that embodies the classic Hollywood duality. I think, dazzling glamour on the surface,
Right.
but just a very dangerous underbelly lurking beneath.
Yeah, and our story centers on Lainey Jacobs. She was a woman who really just seemed to have it all. Like she was thriving.
She did.
Yeah, in her cocaine business, she had a luxurious lifestyle and, a network of powerful connections.
And yet, as we're going to see, this world of wealth and privilege could vanish in an instant.
Yeah, so imagine this. It's April 4th, 1983. Lainey is exhausted. She's just back from a wild weekend in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
And she arrives home to her quiet Sherman Oaks house.
Nice.
And she's just looking forward to some much-needed rest.
It's interesting, isn't it? This seemingly ordinary suburban setting.
Right.
But for a woman who is, deeply enmeshed in the high-stakes world of drug dealing.
Totally. And, this contrast becomes even more striking as we learn more about Lainey's routine. Like, before heading to bed, she decides to prep some cocaine for a distributor who's stopping by later.
Okay.
And so she heads to her garage,
Maybe garage.
where she has a safe hidden away.
This detail to me is significant because it really highlights the level of secrecy and paranoia inherent in Lainey's business.
Right.
We're talking about a time when the war on drugs is in full swing.
Absolutely. So Lainey goes to open the closet where her safe is kept, and she immediately notices something's wrong.
Uh-oh.
The door, which she always keeps locked, is standing wide open.
Ooh, a clear sign that something is amiss.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning.
You got that right. So she rushes to the safe, heart pounding, spins the combination, and it's empty.
Oh, no.
11 kilos of cocaine vanished.
Gone.
Poof.
This discovery is a game changer.
Yeah.
It sets in motion a chain of events that will lead us to the heart of this deep dive.
Now remember, Lainey bought this cocaine on credit from some very powerful and very dangerous Colombian suppliers.
Yikes.
And let's just say they're not the kind of people who take "it got stolen" as an excuse for non-payment.
No, they are not.
So we're talking about a substantial debt here.
Right.
Almost $900,000 based on the street value of the cocaine at the time.
Wow.
But wait, there's more. Panicked, Lainey runs upstairs to her bedroom where she has another safe hidden inside a wall.
Okay.
And guess what?
What?
That one's been cleaned out too. $270,000 in cash. Gone.
So now the pressure is really on. Lainey is in a desperate situation, owing over $1 million to people who are not known for their patience or mercy.
Right. But Lainey isn't one to sit around and wait for things to happen. She is furious. She is fearless, and she is determined to get to the bottom of this.
This is a crucial aspect of Lainey's character, I think.
Yeah.
It speaks to her resilience, her ambition, and perhaps even a little bit of recklessness.
Yeah.
In a world as dangerous as the one she inhabits, those qualities can be both assets and liabilities.
So the million-dollar question is,
What's that?
who robbed Lainey? And this is where things get even more intriguing. This daring heist is just the tip of the iceberg. It turns out Lainey's story is about to intersect with another mystery: the murder of a Hollywood TV producer named Roy Radin.
Oh, wow. And that connection, my friend, is what we'll be exploring in the next part of this deep dive.
So buckle up, everybody. Things are about to get very interesting. Okay, so we've got Lainey reeling from this massive robbery. $1 million in the hole to some very dangerous people.
Yeah.
You'd think that'd be enough drama for 1 week, right?
You would think, but this is Hollywood in the 80s,
Right.
where the stakes are high and the twists and turns are seemingly endless.
So that's where Roy Radin comes in.
Yeah.
Remind us again who he is.
So Roy Radin was a successful television producer, like flashy dramas, big budgets, the kind of shows that drew huge audiences back then.
Yeah, okay, so how does a TV producer end up tangled in a story about a high-rolling cocaine dealer?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to answer it, we need to delve a bit deeper into the social landscape of Hollywood at that time.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little. What was so unique about Hollywood in the 1980s?
Well, the 80s were a period of excess in many ways. The film and television industries were booming, money was flowing, and cocaine use was rampant, particularly among the elite.
So you're saying that cocaine was like the it's drug in Hollywood?
It was more than just a drug. It was a status symbol, a sign of success, a way to kind of keep up with that fast-paced, high-pressure lifestyle.
And someone like Lainey operating in that world would naturally have crossed paths with people like Roy Radin.
Exactly. Their worlds would have overlapped in all sorts of ways. Parties, social gatherings, business deals. Hollywood is a relatively small community, especially at those upper echelons.
Right, yeah.
Everyone knows everyone.
So it's not a huge stretch to imagine that their paths might have crossed in some way that led to, well, trouble.
Precisely. And when you factor in the volatile nature of the drug trade, the potential for conflict, for betrayal, for things to really spiral out of control, let's
Oh.
just say the possibilities are intriguing, to say the least.
Okay, I'm hooked. So where do we go from here? What's the next clue in this tangled web?
Well, if we want to understand how Laney's story connects to Roy Radin's murder, we need to take a closer look at their individual lives, their motivations, their secrets.
Okay, so let's start with Lainey. What else do we know about her? Was she just a ruthless businesswoman, or was there more to her story?
There's always more than meets the eye, especially with someone like Laney.
Right.
I mean, while she was undoubtedly ambitious and driven, she was also a mother, a friend, a person with complex emotions and motivations.
That's an interesting point. It's easy to get caught up in the, sensational aspects of this case, the drugs, the money, the murder.
Sure.
But it's important to remember that we're dealing with real people,
Yeah.
with lives that extended beyond those headlines.
Absolutely. And as we delve deeper into Laney's story, I think we'll find that the lines between victim and perpetrator,
Yeah.
between good and bad, are far more blurred than they initially appear.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Mm.
So what about Roy Radin? What kind of guy was he? Was he involved in anything shady himself?
Well, based on what we know, Roy was a complex character. On the surface, he was the epitome of Hollywood success.
Yeah.
Charismatic, driven, with a string of hit shows to his name. But beneath the surface...
There's always a butt beneath the surface in Hollywood.
There always seems to be. The sources suggest that Roy might have been involved in some questionable business practices, perhaps even dabbled in the darker side of the industry himself.
Okay, so we've got a high-flying TV producer with a possible secret life, a glamorous cocaine dealer who's just been ripped off, and a murder that ties them together somehow.
It's a potent mix, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But how do all these pieces fit together? What's the missing link?
That's what we need to uncover. And the answer, I suspect, lies in understanding the relationships between these individuals, the secrets they held, and the lengths they were willing to go to protect themselves and their interests.
It's like a puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're slowly putting the pieces together.
Exactly. And with each piece we uncover, we get a clearer picture of what really happened and why.
So we've got this intricate web, connections, cocaine, ambition, hidden lives, and right at the center of it all is the murder of Roy Radin.
Yeah.
What do the sources tell us about his death?
Well, the details surrounding Roy's death are a little murky, unfortunately.
Right.
The sources that we have don't explicitly reveal the cause of death or the specific circumstances.
Okay, so it's a true mystery then.
Yeah.
But surely there are theories, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the scenarios that investigators might have considered?
Absolutely. Given the time period and the circles that Roy moved in a drug overdose wouldn't be surprising.
Right.
Cocaine use was so prevalent in Hollywood, then it's certainly a possibility.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But wouldn't an overdose be pretty obvious? I mean, wouldn't the police have been able to determine that right away?
Not necessarily. Overdoses can sometimes be disguised,
Oh.
especially if someone wanted to cover up the true cause of death.
Oh.
Plus, toxicology reports weren't always as sophisticated back then as they are today,
Right.
so it's possible.
Okay, so an overdose is on the table, but maybe it wasn't so straightforward.
Right.
What other possibilities are there?
Well, considering the potential for shady dealings in Roy's life, foul play is certainly a strong contender.
Yeah.
Could he have been involved in something that led to his demise? Perhaps a deal gone wrong or rivalry turned deadly.
It's possible. We already established that Roy and Laney's worlds likely intersected.
They did.
So could there be a connection between the robbery and Roy's death?
That's the question that keeps circling back, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's a tantalizing possibility. Was the robbery simply a robbery, or was it something more? Was Ruby somehow involved? Did he know who was behind it? And if so, could that knowledge have cost him his life?
This is where my imagination runs wild.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's like we're piecing together this puzzle, but some of the pieces are still missing.
And that's the nature of a good mystery.
Right.
It's all about connecting the dots, examining the evidence, and considering all angles.
What I find particularly intriguing is Laney's determination to get to the bottom of the robbery.
Yeah.
I mean, it suggests she had suspicions, maybe even a hunch about who was behind it.
Eh.
Could her pursuit of the truth have somehow led her to Roy or vice versa?
It's certainly plausible.
Yeah.
And if their paths did converge, could it have been a chance encounter, or was there a deeper, more calculated connection? These are questions that we can only speculate on based on the limited information we have.
Feels like we're just scratching the surface of this case. Like there's so much more to uncover.
There always is.
This deep dive has really been an eye-opener.
It has been.
It's given me a whole new perspective on the glamour and grit of 1980s Hollywood.
It's a fascinating period full of contradictions.
Right.
On one hand, you have this extravagant lifestyle, the parties, the wealth, the fame. But on the other hand, you have this undercurrent of danger, of secrets, of people willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead.
Well, I, for one, am completely hooked on this story.
Me too.
And I can't wait to see what other clues we might uncover and how this mystery will ultimately unfold.
Yeah, the answers are out there somewhere. It's just a matter of connecting the dots, following the threads, and seeing where they lead.
So for all of you listening, stay tuned for the next chapter of our deep dive into the Cotton Club murder. We'll continue to dig deeper, examine the evidence, and hopefully bring you closer to the truth.
Until then, keep those theories coming.
Yeah.
And remember, in the world of Hollywood, nothing is ever quite as it seems.